Yes, people, you already know what time it is. You know what it is. It's G, and we're back in the building. Guys, what is going on? Please make sure if you have just tuned into the video that you guys are obviously smashing that like button. Make sure you're obviously hitting that subscribe button as well, as we are on the road to 900 subs. Hopefully, we can get there very, very soon. So, guys, obviously wanted to talk about, you guys can see on the screen anyway, Dominik Szoboszlai and how important he is to Liverpool. Now, obviously there's been a lot of talk, a lot of people comparing him, as you guys can obviously see in the picture on your screens right now, a lot of people obviously comparing him to a former Liverpool player. He was pretty decent. He was okay. You know, England international, won a Champions League and all that. You know, nothing too special. But obviously, people comparing Dominik Szoboszlai to Steven Gerrard, which obviously, whether you agree, don't agree, it's just one of those kind of things. Obviously, in and amongst the Liverpool fan base. Now, not really. I don't really want to dwell on that too much, but obviously we'll talk a little bit about that in today's video. Let me know what you guys actually think before we obviously dive in, you know, into today's talk into Dominik Szoboszlai. What did you guys think? You know, in regards to that, like, do you guys, you know, believe that? For anybody watching the video, do you guys think that as well? You know, that he resembles a Steven Gerrard, and I'm not talking about the celebrations or anything like that. I actually mean on the football pitch. Of course, he's only just started his Liverpool career, so I mean, I'm not going to call him a Steven Gerrard regen or anything like that at this current moment in time. I think that'd be quite disingenuous to Steven Gerrard, who's a Liverpool legend, you know, a man who's won countless of trophies for the club, you know, not even with the club, for the club, you know. So, you know, I think maybe that might be a bit too far-fetched. But ultimately, just in terms of what we've seen so far on the pitch, everything we know, obviously, of Dominik Szoboszlai, you know, at his previous club, RB Leipzig, and obviously at Salzburg, and for his national team, where he is captain for Hungary. You know, let me know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and we're going to dive into the video.
Now you know I'm coming through. When the growth look good on you, best believe they wanna screw now. I've been trying to climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Table turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keep dealing me cards, I keep fitting in love.
What's going on, people? What's going on, G? And we are here to talk all things Dominik Szoboszlai. So, obviously, fresh from his exploits for Liverpool last night against Leicester City, where Liverpool won, obviously, 3-1 in the Carabao Cup third round. Absolute rocket of a goal. Liverpool drawing 1-1 at that stage, and obviously Dominik Szoboszlai, you know, coming on alongside some other substitutes and obviously helping Liverpool to get that victory. Now, we obviously know of Liverpool this season. They are the second half warriors. Always seem to have a crappy first half and then concede, you know, and then second half Liverpool really do like to come out and, you know, it's all guns blazing and all of a sudden we look like this perfect team and stuff like that. Now, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, would prefer Liverpool to actually just have a good 90 minutes, you know, to actually start games well, you know, to not be, you know, always falling behind, always conceding first, always having a poor first half and things like that. Last night wasn't too much of in terms of poor first half, so to speak. I'll probably say it was one of our better ones. I mean, ultimately, we're playing against Leicester City, who are in the Championship. So, you know, again, I expect you to have a better first half, but then I also thought the same thing against Lask, and we still went a goal down. But, you know, again, we went a goal down last night, and when, you know, Dominik Szoboszlai, we equalised just before Szoboszlai had come on, and then obviously him coming on, helping to restore or put Liverpool in front, and then kind of, you know, just his performance, you know, just on the pitch in itself. Now, guys, obviously check out my match reaction, talking about the game and things like that. In regards to that game, and just quickly, I probably would say, as much as it was good that he was able to come on and do what he did, and it was really good for the Liverpool fans probably to see and stuff like that, I mean, I was a little bit like, you know, we shouldn't really be needing someone like a Szoboszlai, you know, to be coming on and really changing a game of that kind of magnitude. If I'm being totally honest with you, as good as Leicester are in the Championship, I expect a team of Liverpool to be able to put them more or less to the sword without having to bring on those kind of reinforcements. Darwin Núñez as well. Didn't really feel like that was really realistically needed, but it was genuinely needed in the game, really to up the quality, which probably more shows the kind of depth and the kind of quality we still do have in the squad. I mean, really good players, Gravenberch, Endo, Harvey Elliott, decent players, you know, on their day, but you know, they're seemingly, for me anyway, maybe not so much in the Gravenberch area, because he looks like maybe, you know, with a bit more time, we might be able to potentially reach some type of level where we're all, you know, satisfied with. But you know, with the other two, yeah, it shows there's I don't want to say golf in quality. That might be, again, disingenuous to those two guys, but you could see that there is a difference. There's a kind of a clear difference, you know, between those two players and Dominik Szoboszlai obviously coming onto the pitch, and the kind of impact that those said players, you know, will have on the pitch, and the kind of impact that Dominik Szoboszlai will have on the pitch as well. So, yeah, when I saw that, I was, again, like I said, I was a little bit like, you know, but ultimately he came on, he did his thing. No one's gonna take that, you know, away from him. And you know, we've seen him score a rocket as well against. Can't remember who exactly it was. I want to say Aston Villa, maybe. But yeah, with his left foot as well. This time we're seeing with his right foot. He's someone who can obviously shoot with both feet. Very good from shooting from outside the box. Got good passing range as well. And one thing I think that we're seeing more so with him, probably, well, a lot more so than what we were seeing at RB Leipzig and at Salzburg, is that he's quite an industrious midfielder, you know. And when I say industrious, not to say he wasn't at those clubs, because he obviously clearly he was. He had that in his arsenal, but because of the kind of onus that Jurgen Klopp kind of places on having that type of midfielder within the squad, you know, he's really taken to that. You know, obviously replacing Jordan Henderson on that kind of right central midfield area, you can kind of see that, yes, of course, Liverpool have got an upgrade in regards to someone who's obviously better on the ball. I mean, in Jordan Henderson's prime kind of thing, I think they're both quite as industrious as each other. To be honest, I don't really see too much of a difference in that kind of space. Jordan Henderson was very, very industrious, could get about the pitch very, very well, could last 90 minutes, just like Szoboszlai can. So I think those two are neck and neck in that kind of area. But obviously we're looking back towards last season. Obviously, we saw the kind of legs have kind of gone, you know, with Jordan Henderson, and I think that for me is kind of key as well. It's one of the things that I you know, I think about quite a lot, and I see people talking about, you know, quite a lot. You know, that of course last season was the most recent season. So if your team can improve upon the previous season in some way, shape, or form, unless you're Manchester City, you know, who obviously won a treble, I think obviously you're always looking for those kind of improvements. And I think with last season, now that we've seen this season, the kind of improvements that we have got, you know, within the midfield in terms of a technical, in a technical kind of area, you know, a lot of people are rightfully so, are really, really happy. And again, Liverpool still unbeaten. You know, we've played, 7 games, I think, this season, 7-8 games this season, and, you know, got ourselves 7 wins. And only drawn 1 game this season, unbeaten. You know, it's really, really good. Only obviously the major sticking point being the fact that Liverpool cannot keep a clean sheet to save their lives at this current moment in time. But ultimately, it doesn't even really matter, because we're obviously getting, you know, we're getting the wins. But in regards to Szoboszlai himself, as I mentioned before, one of the things that I did find quite funny was, you know, a lot of Liverpool fans were kind of laughing. And look, it's Manchester United at the end of the day, so we should be laughing at them because of the position that they're in the Premier League. But, you know, Manchester United played against Crystal Palace the other day in the League Cup. And, you know, Amrabat played in that game, played really, really well, in my opinion, you know, in that match. And I saw a lot of Liverpool fans, when Manchester United fans were bringing that up, a lot of Liverpool fans and other fans, not just Liverpool, but fans were like, oh, my goodness, it's just Crystal Palace. They played a weekend team. It's this, it's that, it's blah, blah, blah. And I was like, that's fair. That is true. It is blatantly factual, but I guess you're looking at more the performance than anything. But then Szoboszlai comes off the bench against a Championship outfit, scores a rocket, and, you know, we're all, you know, jumping up and down, and you know, calling him the Steven Gerrard regen and things like that. And I found that quite funny, because I said, well, I mean, it's against Leicester, so, you know, I'm not realistically looking at it and getting, I guess, too overzealous. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, we're not playing against bloody Manchester City or Arsenal or Brighton or Brentford, whoever. Like, you know, we're playing against a championship outfit who we should be beating at home anyway with the team that we put out. But ultimately, you know, that's just what it is. But I found that kind of funny. It's just one of those kind of things. People don't want to point out those kind of things. That's fair. I get it. Listen, you want to always look at, people always want to look at the positives in every single situation, and you rightly, you know, should be doing that. But sometimes there's always not even a negative, to be honest with you, because we know how good Dominik Szoboszlai actually is. It's just more about, let's look at the things in totality. Let's look at the whole context of everything, you know, before we start saying things that maybe might not be necessarily true. Now, I saw a tweet put out. Can't remember if it was it ESPN. Might have not been them. It could have been someone else. And they were just talking about, you know, is Dominik Szoboszlai Liverpool's best ever midfielder? I don't know if they said since Steven Gerrard or something like that. And I was like, I mean, again, being very, very disingenuous to all the midfielders who have actually played at Liverpool. I mean, there's one, Thiago, who's obviously still here. I still would say he's probably Liverpool's definitely most natural midfielder, a natural talented midfielder. I would still say he's Liverpool's best midfielder, so to speak. But obviously him not being here, him not being fit and all that kind of stuff obviously plays a massive part. And I've got a video actually coming out tomorrow talking about Thiago and whether or not I think Liverpool should sign him, you know, to a new deal when that deal obviously ends. So make sure you guys obviously wait for that on Friday. But yeah, you know, with Dominik Szoboszlai, I think everything I've seen from Szoboszlai so far, that's why I asked the question, and obviously you guys can see it scrolled across the bottom of your screens right now. That's why I asked the question, you know, how important do you guys believe or think he actually is, you know, to Liverpool in terms of what Liverpool are trying to do, what Jurgen Klopp is trying to do, important, you know, for Liverpool's season and stuff like that. Obviously, we ain't got a clue how the season's going to end. You know, at this current moment in time, it's still the early days. Everyone's smiling. It's the honeymoon period. A bit like when you're in a relationship, you know, you get together, everything's nice, everything's sweet, and, you know, everything looks like it could be amazing until you hit that one bump in the road. How do you deal with that one bump in the road? And then we'll really be able to find out, you know, the type of player that Szoboszlai will be, you know, for Liverpool, and how Liverpool as a team are able to kind of, you know, deal with something like that. But, you know, I am quite intrigued to know how people kind of feel about that. When we look at Szoboszlai's kind of heat map for this is just in the Premier League for the season, you know, it's really, really good. Obviously mostly on that, again, right central midfield area, but you can see him basically all over the pitch, to be honest with you. He's had to kind of fill in a multitude of kind of roles, you know, again, and of course as well, being able to carry the ball quite well. Being able to bring the team up, you know, up the pitch as well. He's had in some games where he's been able to kind of control what Liverpool have obviously been trying to do, mostly in second halves of game, and obviously helping out Trent Alexander-Arnold when he goes on his walkabouts and starts his free roaming and stuff like that. Again, he's able to kind of help back in that right back position. Obviously in the corners, he's good at taking set pieces as well. Look, all round, I think he's been a really, really good signing for Liverpool, as I kind of expected him, you know, to be. I know some people are saying world class and that. I think, you know, we got to hold off on those kind of things. He's a good midfielder. I think we leave it there at that. To say someone's world class again would be disingenuous to the actual world class players who have been doing this year in, year out. He hasn't been doing it, you know, at this level anyway, year in, year out. So we're yet to kind of, again, you know, realistically see that. But there's so many good things about Dominik Szoboszlai. You know, there's so many plus points, you know, with him in terms of like the positions that he takes up, you know, on the pitch, you know, the impact he has on the team when he is even on the pitch. If we take a quick look here, I was looking at this is like Liverpool, a Liverpool lineup. I just put these players together, whether you think that's the best team or not. It's just to kind of show you guys what I mean. But obviously him mostly on this kind of side here. At times, you know, if it's McAllister or Gravenberch or whoever you want to kind of put there, you know, there could be certain situations where the midfield will kind of swap around. So it might be a situation where he ends up on the right-hand side. At times, he might just slot in here, or he might end up on the left-hand side. And then you've got Curtis Jones, who might just happen to be in that kind of DM position. All three of them really do move around quite a bit. And I do believe that's the reason why Liverpool didn't necessarily look for a specialist defensive midfielder, because they didn't really feel like they actually needed, you know, to actually have one, you know, because of how he wants the midfield to be able to rotate, a bit like a front three. You know, when we see front threes, I mean, not really with ours, because Salah won't really move from the right to the left, but he'll move from right to central. Nunes will potentially go out wide at times, whether it be left or right. Diaz, if he is playing, he'll go from either on the left-hand side or in the middle, and swap over with a Darwin Nunes. And again, a lot of the teams seem to have like this free roaming kind of thing. Now, maybe that's a part of the reason why our structure at times does look a little bit jadey, a little bit janky, in terms of the way that we are playing against certain teams, or against every team basically, bar Aston Villa, where we then concede goals and stuff like that. Maybe just the kind of initial setup and things like that. Teams getting quite a few chances, within games. So yeah, that might just be done by design. I believe it is done by design, not by design in terms of Liverpool always conceding goals or anything like that. Of course, nobody wants to concede goals, but just in terms of the way that we play, it's that high risk, high reward kind of football, which has always been kind of Jurgen Klopp's template, since he joined the football club. And now, he's got better players. Well, I wouldn't say better player. He's got different types of players, in midfield area, in the forward area, especially, before we would have had where Jones is, I don't know, Fabinho on the left, you would have had, or on the right, you would have had Jordan Henderson, Gini Wijnaldum, James Milner, Ox, Keita, all those kind of guys. Now we've got quite a technical midfield. So defensively in the midfield area, in that side of the game, that's where I think Liverpool are always going to be relatively weak anyway, because we don't really have a natural defensive-minded player. We just have players who can fill into this slot. And obviously, from what I can see, the way that Jurgen Klopp wants the team to kind of play is we defend as a team, as opposed to, well, you're playing in the six, so I need you to be that crunching guy to do this and to do that, and stuff like that. But then again, that also might be the reason as to why he then got in a Endo, because Endo is more defensively minded than the rest of these three guys, that you can see, and Gravenberch as well, that you guys can obviously see on your screen. So yeah. Listen, Szoboszlai is an amazing player. He can fill in the gaps. He can play further forward if you need him to play further forward. We saw against Wolves when Liverpool were 1-0 down at half time, the way that Jurgen Klopp obviously started to then move Szoboszlai a bit more central, alongside Curtis Jones. And those two, it was almost like a 4-2-4, really and truly, in that kind of game, or yeah, so to speak, in that kind of game. But what you then saw is that Szoboszlai getting the ball a lot more, being able to carry the team up a little bit more. Obviously, Wolves in that second half, very, very tired, had expanded quite a lot of energy. And when you do that against Liverpool, that is one of the main key things I always think with this Liverpool team. If teams go head-to-head with Liverpool, it makes it a good game. And I do think we will always concede in that kind of nature. It's just obviously then about, how many you can score. If you sit back against Liverpool and are not quite intense, that's it. That Liverpool will absolutely batter any team. Other teams I wouldn't be so confident with, because they might not have the players to do so, but Liverpool do have the players to do so. The Mo Salahs, the Diaz's, again, Dominik Szoboszlai, in there. We've got players who can hurt you at any given time. Trent with an assist, Robertson with an assist, potentially. These kind of players can hurt you, and they are obviously top players, in their own right. So when you then add in someone like a Szoboszlai, and that's why I look at it and I think to myself, this picture is so funny. The fact that it's so it's so similar. But when you look at it and you're looking at how, Steven Gerrard was, and how, Dominik Szoboszlai kind of is in this team. That's why, again, I ask everybody, how important do you think these kind of players are? Because we saw how important Steven Gerrard was to Liverpool. Now, obviously, that's why I don't want to be disingenuous to Steven Gerrard, because he's a man who's got legacy. He's a legend of the football club. He's won this, he's won that, etc., etc. He's got obviously credit in the game kind of thing. Not to say that Szoboszlai doesn't or won't, but obviously not to the degree, obviously, of a Steven Gerrard. Now, there are obviously some similarities, so to speak, but when we're judging it based off of last season, and then we're calling him a Steven Gerrard, that's where I always think, are we doing the right thing, and are we placing maybe too much pressure on a player who, one, has only just come, and we still need to see more from him at the end of the day? Because this obviously, I'm assuming that this isn't his best. I've seen him perform better than this anyway for Leipzig, so I know that there is other levels to his game. He can actually reach better levels, in my personal opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but I do feel like he can reach higher levels. He can, really start to implement, what he's ultimately all about. And of course, that will also help with the fact that Liverpool's midfield is brand new. They're still trying to gel, still trying to understand the tactics and things like that, from Jurgen Klopp. Obviously, the season just started, so teams are trying to find some type of early season form and rhythm. So at the moment, we're seeing quite a few other teams. They might not look too great at this current moment in time, but again, this is why the season finishes in May, because things can change just like that. You might go for a bad period during the Christmas period time. You might, just after the January break, Liverpool obviously got Mo Salah going away for AFCON. Be interesting to see how Liverpool do, during that kind of time. Again, coming back, from the February period onwards, when we have that, I think we've got an international break in that time. How are Liverpool going to do? I'm looking at Dominik Szoboszlai at this current moment in time anyway, and I'm saying something that Jerry mentioned quite a few times, is that he's becoming so important to the team that the team are not playing well when he's not there. And that was kind of the situation really with with Steven Gerrard when he was at the club at times, not all the time, because obviously he's had the periods where he's been with Torres, or he's been with Luis Suarez, Daniel Sturridge, and Javi Alonso, Mascherano, and these kind of players. But outside of those kind of intervening years, you look at it and you think to yourself, yeah, if Gerrard doesn't have a good game, Liverpool are not having a good game. We saw what happened in that first half against AC Milan in the Champions League. Gerrard wasn't having a good game. If he's not having a good game, nobody else is having a good game. Second half, when Gerrard comes out all guns blazing, guess what? The team it goes up a level, because that's the kind of impact that he has on any team. It doesn't matter if it's great teams, rubbish teams. It really doesn't matter. That's the kind of impact, that he will have, in these kind of games. And Dominik Szoboszlai that's where I say the similarities is that he's almost right now anyway becoming that type of individual where you're kind of like, well, damn, he didn't have a good first half against Wolves. I thought I could have taken him off. I wouldn't have batted an eyelid. You could have taken off any of the midfielders, but you could have taken him off, as well as I think they took off McAllister at half time. He could have easily have been him. But then he turned up in that second half, or he ups his level, should I say, in that second half. And as soon as he does that, the team are able to it's almost like they transcend through him, and then they kind of move forward. And I don't want that to be a thing, if I'm being totally honest with you, because the Liverpool I know under Jurgen Klopp, it isn't specifically about one player. I don't want to go back to that kind of era, because I believe if you go back to those kind of eras, trying to think of teams like that, I don't really know many top teams like that. Obviously, people are going to be like, what about Barcelona, Lionel Messi? When you've got Xavi and Iniesta, who are some of the best midfielders of this generation, it's not only just about Lionel Messi. Of course, he is the star man, within the team, but you need a supporting cast behind the star man. Now, I'm not saying Liverpool don't have that. As I mentioned, you've got Mo Salah, in the team as well. So he could potentially be that supporting cast. I just don't want there to be... I've seen the difference when Szoboszlai is either not playing well or not starting games, and then he comes on in games, or he starts to play well, and how different Liverpool kind of look as a whole, purely because of his kind of influence and his obvious impact, within the team. I don't want to get to that stage, because I don't think it's not gonna, in my opinion, it's not sustainable for winning anything. It's more, you have good periods here, good periods there, and then one-off cup games here and there. But in terms of trying to win leagues and things like that, no player is going to be able to, again, other than Lionel Messi, no player is going to be able to sustain that for a 38-game period. He might get injured, he might be dropped, he might just have a run of probably within a season 38 games. If he used to play every single one, I mean, again, unless you're like Lionel Messi and maybe even a Haaland or something like that, you're going to have at least 5 not so good games. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And then in those kind of 5 games, are they going to be pivotal? Are they going to be games that matter? Are they going to be games that, we needed to pick up the points and, all these kind of various different things? I don't want to get back to that kind of era. Again, I don't know what you guys think. And this isn't to get onto Szoboszlai, because again, fantastic player, really, really good signing for Liverpool. You've seen the impact, but how important is he to Liverpool really doing well, this season? I want to take a quick look here. If I quickly just share my screen. There we go. Yeah, there we go. There we go. There we go. Let's see if you guys can obviously see that clearly. Boom. So obviously got Dominik Szoboszlai, Fabinho, and Jordan Henderson. Now, obviously, I know Fabinho played in the DM position, and I know it's only been 6 games from, for Dominik Szoboszlai, and obviously these guys played over 35 games each, for Liverpool last season. But I just wanted to take a quick look. Again, it's just more to kind of show the influence that he's obviously having, in the team and the type of player, that he is, in the team. You can see here, so Fabinho's in the middle, Jordan Henderson is on the right-hand side. Obviously goals, he's obviously beating them in that. Shots in games, 1.2 shots per 90 minutes compared to Fabinho's and Jordan Henderson's. You guys can obviously see there 0.5 and 0.8. Actually, obviously being good. Chances created in games. Jordan Henderson pretty decent at 1.4 for someone who, people criticize quite a lot, myself included. Szoboszlai has 2 chances he's creating per game. Obviously, Fabinho in the DM position. Passes attempted, I found quite interesting. Again, 65 passes he's attempting per 90. Fabinho at 61, and Jordan Henderson was over the course of a season 67.1 passes completed. Passing accuracy, all relatively close, really and truly with each other. Jordan Henderson coming in last, then Szoboszlai, and then Fabinho. But again, Fabinho is playing in that kind of DM position, so he might be seeing a lot of the ball. But then again, so is Dominik Szoboszlai. But he is wasteful at times. But of course, 88% is still fantastic. Even 84 for Jordan Henderson is still really, really good. But it's those kind of differences that I'm talking about. Long passes. Jordan Henderson 6 per 90, 4.2 from Dominik Szoboszlai, 4.4 from Fabinho. If we scroll down here, through balls attempted within games, that's quite interesting that Szoboszlai's got 0 in comparison to the 0.4 that Jordan Henderson had and the 0.2 that Fabinho had. Passes completed in opposition half. Again, I think that will probably go up as the season kind of goes, but Szoboszlai in second, Fabinho last, with Jordan Henderson first, and then obviously in his own half, again, more so to do with position, but I would expect Fabinho to come out on top. If he wasn't coming out on top in this, then I'm just like, right, really, what was you doing last season? Did you get what I'm trying to say? Forward passes, Jordan Henderson obviously coming out on top in that metric, but Szoboszlai and Fabinho quite close to each other. Sideways passes, duels contested. This one was really, really interesting because it kind of again showed you one of the main problems that Liverpool kind of had, last season. Jordan Henderson only contesting 5.7 per 90. Fabinho, our defensive midfielder, only 8.6. Szoboszlai 10.7. And we really did miss that kind of emphasis in the middle of the park. Obviously, that doesn't necessarily mean, I don't know if I put that up, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be winning all of them, because he's not going to win. Of course, no one is, but he's not going to be necessarily winning all of them. But it's just really about being able to put yourself about, because of that high risk, high reward football that Liverpool do play. It's so pivotal and so vital that you do have someone in there who can kind of do that job to an efficient enough level to be able to, allow us to kind of push on and push forward. Obviously, you got here tackles made per 90. Szoboszlai in second place. Fabinho, as he should be. He is the DM, 2.2. Take-ons, I expect Dominik Szoboszlai, because he does bring the ball. He's better on the ball than both Fabinho and Jordan Henderson. Again, another tool in the arsenal that Liverpool need, especially when they're under a little bit of pressure, especially when the teams might be, pressing. It helps for a counter-attack, because that's what we are. We're quite direct, and we do love a counter-attack to be able to break really, really fast. When you've got someone like Szoboszlai in the team who can actually do that, of course, it's always going to help out. Fouls conceded, aerial duels contested, aerial duel success rates, all pretty decent things, to be honest with you. And all of this, of course, obviously some metrics, Fabinho is better, some metrics, Jordan Henderson is better, and most metrics I'm seeing here is Szoboszlai is kind of better in the ones that I've obviously chosen. You guys can obviously check that out for yourself. But in most of these, again, I think it's showing how pivotal, how important this player is obviously becoming for Liverpool this season, in terms of what he brings to the football pitch, the kind of energy, the leadership, the maturity, and then he's got after all of those kind of non-tangibles kind of things, then you're looking at all of the actual on-ball ability that he does actually possess. And then you're sitting here thinking to yourself, well, if this is a player who can do the dirty side of the game, as we like to call it, being able to just run around and, covering spaces here and there, allowing other players to potentially shine and potentially thrive, but then on the ball, when he does get it, he's got a good pass on him. He can obviously shoot, as we saw with the goal last night. And he's good in that attacking third of the pitch. Like, listen, long may it continue, to be honest with you. Long may it continue. And obviously, people don't, as much as people laughed about the leadership that Jordan Henderson kind of had, and the what the whole was going to be when both him and James Milner and Fabinho obviously left, leaders within the squad over these last few seasons. Yeah, then adding someone else, who's also got that maturity. Of course, he doesn't have the experience of a Jordan Henderson or Fabinho or a James, or no one's got the experience of a James Milner. But of course, he doesn't have that level of experience because they've been in the game a lot longer. But what he does have is that he's able to clearly, what he is showing, well, firstly to Hungary, but what he's showing to Liverpool as well is that he's got those kind of attributes that you would like, and those attributes that people thought that we were going to miss out on. He's almost filling some of those holes as well. So for me, it's just really all about kind of seeing, what you guys think in regards to Szoboszlai. Do you think that, well, first of all, how important do you actually think he is? Do you think him being this important is going to be only a good thing for Liverpool? Do you think that other players also need to step it up, within the squad to be able to help him? Because obviously that would inevitably enable us to be able to win things and, stuff like that. Again, he started the season like a house on fire in terms of, his performances in a general sense. Well, according to most people, he's started the season, quite well, and at the top of his game. But I do believe that there's another level to his game. I do believe that. I do think that he's 22, he's turning 23 next month. We're in under a month, I believe. Yeah, I do believe that there's another layer to his game. Again, that will come with experience. That will come with more time at Liverpool. That will come with, dealing with certain things, on the pitch, off the pitch, whatever that actually may be. But I think he's heading in a good direction. For me, it's been a brilliant start. I'd probably say 8 out of 10, for Dominik Szoboszlai, and for me, that's super high. But yeah, I would definitely give him something like that, because of the general impact that he's obviously having, on the squad. It's just really about being able to manage that. It's just really about making sure that we don't become that one-man kind of team that we had, before. A bit like Tottenham with Harry Kane. You can have this world-class talent, but if the other players are not really on par with you, it's going to be extremely difficult, if not impossible, for you to realistically win anything. Now you're watching Tottenham these days, and they're a team who have now gotten rid of one of the top 2-3 strikers in the world right now, and they look like a fantastic team. The way that they're playing, the feel good factor. Of course, it might not last, but we can only judge on what we've seen at this current moment in time. You're seeing a very notable, kind of difference when it's all about the team. And for me, that is what Jurgen Klopp's team was always about, and his kind of philosophy. It's not always just about the one guy. Of course, you need someone to put the ball in the back of the net. So if that happens to be your right winger, i.e. Mo Salah, or if it was going to be Mane or Firmino or whoever, then fair enough. Those guys, that's their job to actually do. But what I don't want is where there becomes too much of a clear disparity between, say, a Dominik Szoboszlai and a McAllister or Jones or Gravenberch or Endo or an Elliott, where you're sitting there and you're thinking, shit, all right, well, if he doesn't have a good game, what do we do then? Where's the kind of next move, or who comes in, and that person coming in isn't going to have the same, obviously, effect as a Dominik Szoboszlai. Does that then help? Does that hinder? Are we going to lose? Are we going to... Too many variables. But, at this current moment in time, just really for Dominik Szoboszlai, it's really just to keep up what you're doing, really just to continue on with what you've been doing, since you joined the football club. I think for me, I do want to see him in a more advanced position. But again, I wanted to see a different type of defensive midfielder that Liverpool are going to sign in to allow him to be able, to do that. We're never going to be the footballing side like a Brighton or a Man City or an Arsenal or something like that, Barcelona's and stuff, of course. But what we're built upon, I still think that within that, Dominik Szoboszlai can really go up another level and another stage. But of course, all these things just remain, to be seen. But guys, let me know what you think in regards to Dominik Szoboszlai, how important you believe he is to Liverpool moving forward. Where would you like to kind of see him? And what I mean by that is, do you think, this is his position, obviously, over there in that right central midfield position? Would you like to see him potentially in another position? Let me know, of course, in the comment section. It'll be very interesting to kind of know. But yeah, for me, can we please, all I ask is, can we please stop the Steven Gerrard talk, please? Stop being disingenuous to one of the greatest players to, play for Liverpool Football Club. Let's just let Dominik Szoboszlai do his thing. Let him acclimatise. Let him be here for one season first, and then let's really start, talking about what he can and can't realistically do. We don't need to diss any other players by, propping up Dominik Szoboszlai. So we definitely don't need to do stuff like that. I saw people talking about Szoboszlai and Jude Bellingham, and I'm like, two different players, two different positions, two different, teams in their context and stuff like that. One is a match winner, one is a cog in a midfield. So, you know, two different kind of roles that they are obviously playing. But ultimately, I still saw people obviously trying to compare that, and we will never realistically know who, if Bellingham would have, if he did come here, the impacts that he potentially, you know, would have had, you know, for Liverpool. But again, all of that is, you know, it's one of those ones, neither he say, she say kind of stuff. Let me know what you guys obviously think about the importance level of Dominik Szoboszlai at Liverpool Football Club. I'm G. Video done. We out.